Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends to the House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky, and with me as always is the maestro of mail order mysteries, Eddie Guevara. Today we have a whole table of hosts, man. We have horror magician extraordinaire Chuck Caputo and his amazing wife, Cheri. We also have Justin the Adventurer from his YouTube channel, Just Making Dreams. How's everyone doing tonight?
All right. Pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah, great.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for coming on here. And real quick, before we get into our conversation, we're going to hit on the friends of the channel real quick. So we know that the holidays are coming around and everyone's out there looking for some, different or special gifts for everyone. Well, I got some sites for you. Don't worry about it. House of the Unusual has you covered here. So first off, we're going to touch on our buddy Todd Machen's site over at Sea Monkeys, and it's sea-monkeys.com. This is for all your underwater sea monkey needs. He got a whole bunch of cool stuff there, man. Sea Monkey starter packs. There's t-shirts, posters. And if you're looking for a new and exciting greeting card to send for the holidays, they got you covered there with a whole bunch of different Sea Monkey greeting cards with some really cool artwork on them. So definitely go check that out at sea-monkeys.com. All right, also, one of my favorite comics magazines that's out right now is Stupid Comics Magazines. And everyone that's been buying them up and reading them has nothing but positive reviews on it. And that's at stupidcomicsmagazine.com. And that's STOOPID. And this is a great little comics magazine. It's all black and white, kind of a mixture of Cracked Magazine, Mad Magazine, and The Far Side, all rolled into one with some great stuff in there, man. It's guaranteed to make you laugh. So definitely go ahead and check that out. They are on issue number 5. So there's 6 issues out, 0 through 5. Definitely go check them out. All right. Also, our buddy Dave Haversat has a great website at 1878press.com, and that's 1878press.com. Tons of cool books there on magic and mentalism and all that cool stuff, mail order stuff. Definitely go check them out. He has a ton of books on there, and most of them are on sale at a great price. Also, Scary Monsters Magazine, the great magazine that I am privileged to do articles for. Each issue has 2 covers out this month for their Chilly Thrillers and Frosty Frights issue. So if you become a subscriber, you get a special issue of the 1951 Thing movie. In all art's done by Scott Jackson. He's absolutely fantastic. And if you decide to go get your issue from the store, you'll get an amazing cover from the 1982 movie, The Thing. So both covers are absolutely fantastic. I'm sure if you're only able to get one, you could go on the website and grab the other one as well. This is going to be the only time that they do 2 covers, so grab them while they last. And that is at mymoviemonsters.com. Also, make sure you guys check us out on YouTube under House of the Unusual. Tons of great videos on there. Eddie and Chuck are always putting some videos on magic and mail order stuff on there, and it is absolutely fantastic. So make sure you subscribe to our channel, like the videos, and leave us a good comment or 2 if you so choose. And once you're done with the YouTube, check us out at houseoftheunusual.com. We have a awesome forum site there that's free to join, and people are putting some great photos of their collections up there and some very rare mail order items. I love seeing all those because most of the stuff I don't have when it comes to mail order, but I'm definitely keeping a list and checking eBay and antique shops and all that for all these cool items that are out there that are being posted. So definitely check that out when you get a chance. And also, if you're like me and love watching horror and sci-fi movies that are, the classic era, but you're not sure what to watch, head over to themonsterchannel.com. It is a 24/7 streaming site. It is free, and they're always playing something different on there. There's underground horror hosts on there, kind of like how they used to be in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. A lot of these people are doing it for free. So definitely give them your support and check them out. there's always something different on there, and there's some holiday themed movies and shows, and it's all horror, sci-fi. Every once in a while, you might get a classic serial or maybe a martial arts movie from the 70s or 80s, and they're absolutely fantastic. So definitely check that out. And if you want to join the chat on there under Chatango, you could sign up for free and you could join in the conversation. So that's themonsterchannel.com. All right, that's all we got for our friends of the podcast and friends of House of the Unusual. And if you have a small business or a site that you want us to showcase on our podcast, drop us a line at houseoftheunusual.com and we'll make sure that we get you up. So we got a whole bunch of people today and 2 newcomers to the podcast. We got Justin and Cheri. So I am going to put them on the spot right away and let them introduce themselves and give their little spiel. So we are going to start with, as I roll the dice, Cheri, we're going to start with you.
Hi.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? You know, we've been hearing from Chuck for so long, and he always talks about you and all that. And, you know, we want to hear it from you. So how's everything been? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. Well, you know, I'm Cheri Caputo. I'm Chuck's wife, almost 30 years now. I'm a retired registered nurse as of November 19th.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. And it was 30 years of nursing, a lot of different experiences. Plus, on the side, when I met Chuck, I was a student nurse at a local hospital here. And we had some great adventures on the weekends when I was his assistant, as well as, you know, going through the nursing school. But otherwise, brought us here today after 2 wonderful children. They're grown now, and now I'm retired, so I have more time with Chuck to help with his to be his assistant, and
all right.
We look forward to new adventures.
Awesome. I tell you what, every time I watch Chuck's video, I always enjoy your commentary behind the camera. I think it really adds to the video. So Chuck's really lucky to have you there with him.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
And thank you for all your years, you know, in the medical field and helping people out. And definitely enjoy your retirement. It's well deserved.
Thank you.
All right, Justin, we are going to turn it over to you now. And why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and about your YouTube channel and everything that's going on with you?
Yeah, so my name is Justin Donnell. I'm 30 years old. I grew up your normal, typical childhood, you'd say. And basically from an earlier age, I kind of started doing businesses. They classified me as what you'd call an entrepreneur. Most of them businesses work to some extent, but I seem to get bored of them over time. And more recently, as life goes on and I've overcome a lot of challenges, you know, I had an alcohol problem at one point, which I'm actually celebrating a little over 3 years sober from. And that's created a pretty big
That's awesome.
That's great.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think that's created a lot of the decisions that I made recently to just start doing things differently. If I want to get transparent with everyone, you know, my parents went through a divorce about 2 years ago. I watched my dad work the last 30 years of my life, and essentially I just watched him give away $800,000 to $1 million to my mom, which, you know, hey, that is what it is. But at the end of the day, like, was it worth it? You know, you just worked the last 30 years of your life, and he succeeded at it. But what did he miss in the course of doing that? So I think for me, that's where exploring these new journeys and going out and doing other things instead of working for money and kind of work to pursue happiness and live the adventure and let money come as it is. I'm a firm believer that it will come as it's needed. So that's just kind of where I'm at.
Awesome.
So up until this point,
you said you have a new YouTube channel that you're starting out called Just Making Dreams. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's basically a YouTube channel that kind of spawned about a month ago when I started this living in my exterior, traveling the southeastern United States, and I started from Pennsylvania to mile marker 0 in Key West, and then traveled my way back up had an opportunity to meet Eddie at the Coral Castle. And unfortunately, the weather was pretty rough that day, but we still managed to live through it. So I'm glad that happened. And yeah, it's just been a really unique experience. And it seems like every time you turn your head, you never know what was coming next. And it made it really rewarding and somewhat stress-free because you didn't really have any expectations. So it was all good. And if you didn't like it, you moved on.
Awesome.
So,
That sounds like I tell you what, that sounds like a really good time. I know a few times I've been on YouTube and checked out some of the videos of the people that, they just get in their van or their camper and that's how they live and they go around and travel and they're just really enjoying life and getting to see everything that, their area has to offer and kind of branching out of their comfort zone to just, like you said, just enjoy life and adventure and not work just for the money, but,
or
living
work
life
to
for
pay for a
happiness.
house. Like paying for a house in at least Lancaster County, yeah, if you want to work full time to pay for the mortgage and the taxes and all that, but why work so hard if you could work a little less, do everything you want to do, you just don't have to have that house payment, or at least not right now.
Yeah, do it while you're young, Justin, right?
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I know if I decide to restart or reground a business, 34, 35 years old, my dad didn't start till he was 37. So
yeah.
I'm not going into this broke.
So on your YouTube channel, Just Making Dreams, is this where you'll be like kind of cataloging your adventures and everything that's going to be happening with you?
Yes, that's the goal. So the most recent video, I actually traveled to the top of Windrock Mountain in Tennessee. So it's around 5,000 feet in elevation, but I drove up it on my dirt bike on an extreme difficult trail, which at times was very shocked that I made it. But it wasn't the intention at all to go up that trail. I just didn't realize it till I was halfway there, and I determined it was probably, hopefully, easier to go the rest of the way up than go back down.
Right.
Because I knew there was a road at the top that would take you down safely. But no, it was just, things like that. And I went to Ruby Falls. There's Cathedral Caverns in Alabama. That was a very phenomenal place. Just a lot of, places that they're just tourist attractions essentially. But I figured these are a lot of things that I hear people talk about. Oh, I want to go see that someday. I want to go see it someday. And after I just did it, I don't see any logical excuse as to how you can't just go see it. It's not that expensive. If you have a reliable vehicle, there's no sound excuse to not go visit some of these places that people want to see. It's just there's just a lack of motivation or true desire.
Awesome. So the true adventurer spirit, it seems like.
It's the best for best for my mental health, and as an ADHD person, it really helps. I mean, it keeps things always changing. So
that's awesome. I'm glad you're able to find, what works for you and what makes you happy. I think that's what a lot of us out here are all, eventually, are looking for and striving for, doing something that makes us happy and, something that kind of levels us out every once in a while. Because I tell you what, dealing with Eddie all the time, man, you gotta have that, that leveling out.
And it always changes, but I've always been one to do what I want to do, and always been one to make it work. And that's something that's allowed me the ability to kind of go against the beaten path, and I'm grateful for that. In some ways, it makes life a little hard because I never want to settle down in one area, but it always worked for me. And it's always impressed the people around me about how I've always been able to make it work in some extraordinary ways. So, that's the cool thing.
Awesome. That's really awesome. So, yeah, well, we'll definitely get into more of that as the conversation goes. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to horror magician extraordinaire, Chuck Caputo. Chuck, what's new?
All right. Hey, man, I'm excited. You know what? The magic kits are just about ready to go. Eddie's been working very hard and diligently on the packaging. So this is probably like the coolest magic kit on the planet. I mean, everything is built by myself, ranging from a floating shrunken head to a monkey's paw the pillar of Hercules, all kinds of strange, really cool magic. So, and they are very, very limited sets. So if you guys out there in podcast land would, contact directly to Eddie, and I think he's going to put a link on his site as well. And I'm excited to be here with my wife,
Awesome.
and I'm excited to hear from Justin about his viewpoints of Coral Castle.
Yay.
Yeah, we'll definitely be digging into Coral Castle a lot, because there's so much there to talk about, and I'm sure our buddy Eddie Guevara, the maestro of mail order mysteries, has a lot to say about it. So Eddie, what's new?
Everything. Well, a lot of things are new. I was excited today to have received. Well, first of all, welcome everybody to the show. As I was just here listening to everybody's story, and I was very impressed there with Justin. One of the things is I received from Anchor. I think I sent it to some of the guys already. A letter, and in the letter it's kind of like a ribbon telling us that on January 6th we released our very first podcast for this year. Now, of course, this is our second season, so now we started the first season in August, so we kind of didn't do an entire season there, but from January it says, as your show has made friends in some new places. So one of the places is Nigeria. It says that our followers have grown by 384%.
Wow.
The listeners have grown by 178%. The streams have been 138%, and the hours 82%.
All right.
There's 16 individual fans that have wrote in whatever that they have listened to our podcast more than any other podcast.
All right.
And then it goes on to say that 35% of our fans listen to us from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we've released 2,802 minutes of content across 44 episodes. And here's the best part, 44 episodes for this year, that is. That's not counting the 30-something from last year. We're heard on 7 countries and with 384% growth. Now, that was fascinating. I was very excited to see that. The other thing I was going to bring to the table is, yes, as Chuck said, the new magic kits are probably going to be finished tomorrow. I'll have it up on sometime tomorrow night or Friday morning. I'll be posting about them, and Chuck then will obviously be discussing it, and you'll.
And where do you pick them up then again, Eddie? Where do you get the magic kits at?
No, they're all handmade by Chuck, and I put together the packaging. It's all
where will people be able to purchase them?
Oh, I'm sorry. Where would they be able? I thought he was saying where. They're going to be able to be purchased in our site, and probably eBay, and also Chuck is. I've set up for Chuck an Etsy store, so it's going to be in a couple of places. So it'll be available. When it's available, we'll on the site itself. There's going to be a link where to get it.
Yeah, so if everyone out there goes to houseoftheunusual.com, the links will be there. Easy for you to get to any of the sites to purchase from whatever different site you want to. So Eddie will make it real easy.
I will make it easy as easy as I can. Now, one thing that was very interesting, like Justin was saying, I went to Florida, and I think I went around the same time Justin did, and although the entire week was gorgeous, that one day that we and Justin, as fate has it, we go to Coral Castle. I think that guy in Coral Castle didn't want us there because it was pouring. I almost had to take a boat home. That's no and
that might be part of the trick, though. The rain.
I think the thing is that Chuck Caputo, because the fact that him and his wife were there, and he didn't really want me to be there without him, he might have done some magic and made it rain.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that down the road.
Now, Cheri, were you at Coral Castle as well?
I was indeed. It was fun. It was a lifelong dream of Chuck's, and we ended up going to Miami that year for his birthday, and then got a rent-a-car and went down there to Homestead. Is that where it's located, the Coral Castle?
Yes, I believe.
Yeah.
And made his dream come true, and he was so excited.
Oh, I was so
and
excited.
I enjoyed it myself. It was very awesome.
Was Chuck running around like a little kid down there? Come on, you can tell us.
I know. I had to keep him at bay. But no, it was. We enjoyed our tour guide. Everything was very fascinating, and always wondering, how he got. What's that little guy's name?
Edward Leedscan.
Oh yeah, what's he? Latvian or?
He's from Latvia.
Latvia. Okay.
And he was like 5 foot tall, about 98 pounds.
Yeah, and it was amazing how he put all this together.
You know what,
Supposedly with his own.
I couldn't believe how small he was when Eddie sent me some of the pictures of him standing next to
Yeah.
the wooden cutout. I'm thinking, okay, maybe they miniaturized it, but no,
No.
that was actually, couldn't believe how tiny he was.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that was an actual life-size cutout. You know, I'm only 5'10", 5'10 and a half, and I towered above him. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And he was about 98 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I've never been to Coral Castle. You four have, so I got to live vicariously through all of you tonight. So we're definitely going to dig into Coral Castle. So, Justin, when you were down there, what was one of the most fascinating things that you found about that whole place? And I know it kind of sucked you were down there when it was pouring rain and everything, but I'm sure it was still an awesome experience.
It wasn't pouring rain; it was torrential downpour.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It is a monster. Oh.
I think it was more the drive behind it that's more interesting to me is why, not so much how. I think the how is I don't say easily explainable, but it's not unbelievable. It's just the motivation to do it. What lies behind that? Was it to prove that he could do something? Was it he had the idea in mind of selling it as a tour his whole life? I mean, what was it?
You know something, Justin? It was kind of funny that you're saying that, because as I was standing with Justin there, I thought it was kind of funny because I'm telling Justin, it's funny how a lot of people, instead of looking at the mathematics, basically looking at the scene and seeing how it was possibly done. I said some people would say is aliens. There was a couple next to us, right? And I didn't realize that the couple actually said aliens. And the guy kept looking at me when I was saying they're nuts out there.
Yeah,
That's like the new thing. If you can't figure it out, it was aliens.
those lousy aliens, they do everything.
Yeah, but it was the aliens that did it. Yeah, why
it's
not?
always aliens, But you know something though, I remember, I forgot where I learned that. I think it was the History Channel or something, Justin, where they say, like, say for example, you take and you excavate the ground, like where the base of the thing is, and then when the temperature changes, it eventually drops into the I think it was the making of the pyramids or something like that. I was watching either in the History Channel or the Discovery Channel, but it kind of explained what I think Justin is going to say. But anyway, Justin has a secret. He thinks he might have an idea how it was done. Can we hear that?
Well,
Yes.
I don't know if it's a secret. I think that's the thing about it. I think it's simpler than I think you think too hard about it. He was a lumberjack and he was a stonemason. So he obviously had the knowledge of leverage and how balance worked. I mean, that was clear. Its evidence is still there today that anyone can go see. But back in that time, a typical lifting method would have been like a tripod, typically made of 3, logs essentially, and you could stand them up. And it's no secret that he had hoists there. And there's hoists in pictures that are revealed from, as early. There's apparently a footage on the internet that you can watch right now that was released recently, back of him doing this in 1930s. I watched it earlier this evening, matter of fact, and it had, a three chain hoist. So I've used these personally myself in my own shop, and it doesn't, in the mechanical advantage that it offers, you don't need to be really big at all. My 10-year-old son could pull that hoist and lift a lawnmower off the ground with no problem. I think that it really wasn't a matter of how, it's why, because he can do it. It could be done with a hoist. I do believe he had the electromagnetism. He did know if that was necessarily used in the lifting methods of building the caverns. That might have simply been for the lights, or there is a chance that he did use the electromagnetism by taking a series of car batteries, linking them all together in a way that he could have took, like, for instance, the drive shaft of the vehicle and you could put like an iron bar down through there. And if he would use that flywheel system that was displayed on the wall in the cavern, with a magneto and electronic pulse, essentially every time that magnet passes that coil, it disperses a jolt of electricity, which would then in turn take that rod inside that drive shaft and magnetize it, and it would create a force that would constantly drive that. He could then put like a chisel on there and it would constantly work. So he wasn't actually chiseling the rocks. He put tools in these tripods surrounded by a drive shaft with a series of batteries, created like what you'd consider like a Tesla coil. It's the same idea, and he could have ran this through a series of a hot wire to these tools.
You just put Leonard Nimoy out of business, right?
Well,
oh my God, that's I understand. You know what? Keep it up. It sounds phenomenal, man. I'm amazed. Go ahead.
It's just why, it's why.
You know what I think, and this is my opinion on the why, and you guys could, give your input as well. But I think that, he had the background in being a lumberjack and a mason. So those were his trade crafts. That's what he knew he was good at. But I also think that he had an artistic side to him, and this was his this was him showing his artistic side, and that he wasn't a painter, he wasn't an illustrator, anything like that, or could mold with clay, but he knew how to do stuff like this. So this was kind of like, I believe, his artistic contribution to the world, and he was just doing stuff that what he knew how to do, and maybe he was kind of pushing himself to do a little bit more to see what he could do and what he couldn't do.
All right.
Remember,
I'd be curious to hear Eddie's viewpoint now. Eddie, what do you think about this? Do you think this was done through purely physical means, like Justin was saying?
Well, just right now, what I was going to say,
aliens.
Is I believe, I know it's kind of a shock for Joe, because we all know that Joe does keep aliens in places, because he was part of MUFON at one.
That's right. That's right.
So, I mean, Joe, you got to come out and say the truth. But anyway,
it was aliens. That's it. It was aliens. Case closed.
I think what Justin is saying is you know what? It's probably 150%, and I'll tell you why. One, Justin has a background in vehicles and cars and stuff like that, and I think that what he's saying is exactly not what I think, is exactly what I've heard in the History Channel.
Whoop! I think we lost you, Eddie.
Well, Eddie disappeared there, but you know what? Going back to what Justin said, it's probably much more simpler than people think, and that's usually the case on a lot of this stuff. Everyone tries to complicate it, but they kind of pass over the more simpler things. And I'm sure, Chuck, you could relate to that when you're doing when you're inventing stuff. Do you really try to go complicated, or do you try to keep it simple?
No, that's actually a good point. Yeah, I mean, the best way to go is from point A to point B. Okay, but there is a couple things that I would like to bring up. Now, this was not the first coral castle. Okay, Ed Leedscannon had one called Rock Gate, actually about 10 years prior to this one. And after about 10 years, he actually moved Coral Castle. It was about 30 miles away from here, the one that's in existence today. So he actually moved it. Okay, now, you know what? I mean, there are certain, things that I do agree with. The man did use the Florida pine trees as a tripod with a hoist and so forth for certain things. And he also did use the flywheel, which is clearly in his shop. Okay, but you know what? But the thing that really has me curious is in his shop. If you notice, he literally had tuning forks. I mean, like bigger than your hands, hanging on the wall. And there is a science to actually sound harmonics. I mean, like me being in the magic field, I've actually seen experiments where non-metallic objects, if there's enough sound vibrations put to it, it can float. So I think it's a combination of all those things, to be honest with you. I think that leverage plays a point. I think the electromagnets plays a point. And I think that he did know a lost technology, that we just do not know about anymore. With sound vibrations, with sound vibrations or the harmonics.
Yeah, that definitely, I'm sure it's a combination of everything. And getting back to Justin's point, and I'll put this out there to Chuck and Cheri. What do you guys? What is the reason you guys think he did this for? What is your gut feeling of why he spent so much time and effort to put this together?
Lived there.
Yeah, you know what?
He
Well,
actually lived there.
yeah, he actually lived there. But you know what? According to his story, it was built for his Sweet 16. Okay, now an actual person.
Yeah.
Speculation has it that he was stood up where he came from Latvia. He was stood up at the altar, and that was like, almost like to homage to her. But I mean, but that could have just been a story. You know what? I mean, I don't think anybody knows exactly why he built this thing. You know what I mean? And there's actually two doors on the castle. Now the one is a metal one, and when I went, that door was open, like that door was not closed. But I've seen on different documentaries, he has a drawing of the solar system on there. Okay, he was very knowledgeable about astronomy, and he had 22,000 written on the door, and it's confirmed by scientists that every 22,000 years the Earth will reverse its polarity. Now, how on earth did he know this? That's the thing about it, I mean,
You
so
looked
there's
it up on Google, right?
yeah, right, yeah, back in 1931, yeah. And the other door, which was the main entrance at the north end, I believe, or whatever, that's a 9-ton door. Now that thing lasted for many, many decades, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, just like Justin said, that like a 5-year-old kid could push this door. It was perfectly balanced. It had a truck, the axle that went right through it. I mean, like regardless how he did this thing is quite an accomplishment, and I don't think one person could actually do this on their own, is what I'm saying. So I think he was an ingenious man. I don't think he had help, because the man was a recluse. That was confirmed. I mean, there was not people around the castle and stuff like that. He didn't want people watching him, and the guy worked at night, But I mean, but the accomplishments is just unbelievable. I think a few of those stones were 30 tons, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow!
I mean,
Now, if I remember reading right, that the door that revolves that ended up breaking, and there was, I believe it was a college group that fixed it, and
right, there was
for a while.
Yeah, there was a group of engineers from Florida State University, I believe. They came down and he did fix it, but it took them cranes, all kinds of stuff, which is something that Ed did not have. And so they found a weird plate, like, directly underneath the door, like supporting the axle. And they still don't know what that was, but they opted to take that out and they put a new axle in there. And it lasted maybe 15 years, I think it was, and it collapsed again. And so now it's just not mobile.
Oh, wow.
Well, and I think they should get somebody in there to actually, fix this thing, because it would be cool to have that door restored back to its original, shape.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Cheri, what is your gut feeling of why he put this thing together? Do you share Chuck's opinion, or do you differ a little bit?
I really didn't think of the reason why. Only because the way they said that he lived there, he was a recluse. He actually had TB, and
that's right. Yeah.
And what was that water, that pool he would go into? It was like electromagnet underneath the down the steps.
Yeah, he actually dug a stairway out,
and pretty cool.
And it was a pretty cool little, almost like a pond in there.
Where he would bathe, and
he would bathe there, and then supposedly he would wrap himself with a wire with an electromagnet with a coil and put juice through it,
and then he would lay in the sun, and he healed himself of TB.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that sounds like if I were to do that, I would definitely shock myself out of this world.
You know what? I forgot all about that. But her being the ex-nurse, that's the medical field, so the TB part she remembered.
Wow, I never heard that one. That's really cool. Hey, Eddie, do we have you back yet, or do you head on back down to Coral Castle? I guess he's still gone. He got in this car and left.
I think the aliens got him.
Yeah, it was aliens. Yeah, the aliens came and got him. He'll be selling a mail order mysteries on the alien spacecraft. So
I hope that
if you guys are listening to the podcast, it might be, stitched together a little bit. We're going to pick up right in our conversation with the Coral Castle. So it's either the Curse of the Coral Castle or it was aliens. So, it was one of those. So
oh, man.
We'll continue on here, because I tell you what, Coral Castle is absolutely it's fascinating, and we were talking about, you know, the why he would put it together and the how he would put it together. But you guys were all down there. So what's some other fascinating things about Coral Castle you guys think that really stood out to you? And Justin, we'll start off with you.
Well, I was gonna say another thing that kept coming to my mind when you guys were speaking was another thing is, you know, what would be the advantage to telling people how? I mean, would it be as thrilling? Would people want to come see it if they knew the how? Could he have been afraid of that? Is there a chance?
You know, there's always that, you know, stuff that is more mysterious draws a lot more attention there. And Chuck, I think you could kind of probably touch on this more being in the magic field, and you have to keep that kind of level of secrecy and intrigue to, you know, the people coming back. So if you want to touch a little bit on that.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. You want to keep the image going, just like, just like Justin said. And if you explain how it's done, then the mystique is gone.
His answer was always, it's real simple if you just know how to do it.
If you know how to do it.
He always said that.
Well, that's kind of with everything, like magic, you know, real simple if you know how to do magic, but you know, you're on the outside, like someone like me who doesn't know anything about magic. I'm like, that's like the hardest stuff in the world. But I'm sure once you know how to do it, it's, you know, it's just, you know, repetitious, and you could do it almost in your sleep.
Yeah, that, you know what, that is correct. You know, there's a certain thought process that goes with it. You know what I mean? And you know what? And most major illusions, believe it or not, are only based on maybe 11 or 12 principles. You know what? So that's why I can't really watch a magic show and like judge, you know, how it is or something, because you know what? Probably about 99% of the people watch it and they're like, how did he do that? You know what? But I know how, like,
Chuck's like, I could tell you how.
Yeah, you know what? So, you know what? Don't put me on as a judge or something like that. I can't do it because it just doesn't work, you know.
You know, that's how I am when I watch military movies, and I'm like, that can't happen, that can't happen, happen, you know. And the kind of people around me are just like, shut up and enjoy the movie.
You know what, Joe? Whenever
I do that too.
Yeah, Cheri does that. Yeah, with the
oh yeah, I could imagine. Yeah.
They need a.
I mean, you don't just give somebody a shot and they're automatically, you know, healthy.
Yeah. There's. Yeah, you catch all that.
It's funny how the aliens threw me off. I think they didn't. You know what? I think what the problem is here is that Joe has aliens locked in his basement, and they must have overheard me saying that, you know, that they're not real.
I only let them out during Christmas time. They run around.
What my point I was trying to say before I disappeared is the inferiority. I can't even get the word out. Inferiority complex. Inferior. What do you call that? And that's why I think made that guy do it, because he was small. Maybe he felt he couldn't stand up to the world, and he wanted to prove himself. But he did a darn good job doing it. I mean,
yeah, he did. That's right. That's right. You know what? Regardless how he did it, he did an amazing job. And you know what? I hope you guys have read his books too. Some of his philosophies were actually, wow. I mean, like when it boils down to like how families and kids should act, it's like it's like really an adult. You know what I mean? Some of this stuff is funny, man. It's hilarious.
So he's got like that real old world style of thinking of how a family should work. And
oh my goodness, it's unbelievable. You know what? If I talked like that to my wife, I think I get a frying pan on my
head. She's like, "Yep."
You know that I think Justice remembers this. There's a part in the castle where he was supposed to say if a kid did something wrong.
Yeah.
And they were like supposed to kneel down, stick their head through like this wall, and then they were supposed to talk to him for about an hour.
Yeah.
The guy was insane.
That was
so Justin, your opinion, as you were saying before, that I did get lost. So you basically feel that he just built it with time and knowledge and just with
knowledge. And you also, I mean, I don't know if people understand, but from my research, the coral that it's actually made of is a type of limestone, and it's relatively soft. So I'm not saying this to make light of it or anything, but from what I've read, you can cut this with a wood saw. So if that is true, I mean, 28 years to build that much is not, it's not unrealistic. I mean, it clearly happened. And, you know, wood saws can be 3 feet long.
Yeah, but do you remember when the girls showed us, they were doing the tour, that it showed like where he had some type of winches or something behind the rocks, and all the rocks
The
had.
leaf springs, yeah, you could see the impressions where almost every single one of them, there was like 4 spots where there was leaf springs, and they were clearly pressed hard at some point because they left indentation. I was trying to figure that out in my head, and I did keep getting drawn back to the modern day scrapyard. I don't know if you guys are familiar with, or if anyone's been to a scrapyard where you just take, junk metal that you're going to get rid of. But today's day and age, they have like a crane and they have just a giant magnet on the end, and they literally magnetize it and it picks up a car, just sucks it right off the ground, like 3 feet off in the air, and they can just sling it into a big pile.
Yeah.
So that's today's day, but I'm not to say that his little flywheel contraption didn't have some sort of ability to have that strong of a magnetic pull. And there's not something to say that he didn't take leaf springs and attach them to them corals, push a button or rotate that sucker, and all of a sudden it sucked the wall real quick one way. I can't see how he would have done it, but at the same time, the technology was there.
Well,
I just don't know how to harness it.
Remember also the wall that if anybody, and I think Chuck, you remember this, you're the one that mentioned this to me, when they repaired the door that was supposed to swing open and close, whatever, which is like 9 tons.
Right.
They found underneath that truck's ball bearings.
Mm-hmm.
So there's basically, and so the guy definitely had modern day / knowledge of things that he probably just did it with the time. It is 28 years to build,
And leverage, especially what I've cut down trees in one of my entrepreneur endeavors, and I was really good at it. But one thing I learned with cutting trees down is there's actually a formula where if a tree's leaning, let's say 6 feet over your house, and you don't want it to fall on your house, well, you measure the base of the diameter of the tree, and you take it by the height, you divide however many segments that equals, and that'll give you an actual inch measurement of how much you need to change it at the bottom to correct that back lean to a straight up and down. And from my experience, to correct the 6 foot back lean, you generally only need 2 or 3 inches. And you actually change something that's leaning 6 foot one direction, and you'll straighten it out perfectly with just a few inches. And that's the amazing ability of leverage and mathematical knowledge.
That's yeah. Wow.
And if it wasn't for that formula, I would have been an ignorant arborist. Instead, I knew the math, and I'll tell you what, there was many experiences where we were going to cut the tree, and I wasn't necessarily confident in what it looked like, but I knew that if my math was right, it was going to work, and it did every time.
That's amazing. I would have never, thought of that with tree cutting. But that's just amazing. Just that small amount would cause such a huge correction.
Oh,
that's true.
Hey, that's just like a ship. That's like a ship with a little rudder. You could actually control a massive ship. It's amazing.
One thing about what he just said with the trees, there's a series, I think it's, again, the History Channel, but that's the one I watched the most, called Mountain Man.
Oh, I remember that.
There's an actual thing in there that actually explains what he just said. So, I mean, that's common sense, I think. And the idea, I guess some people, when they don't know the explanation, they'll come up to the conclusion, aliens, the secrets of the pyramids. I mean, it's just a good sell.
You also have to remember the largest pieces, these 30-ton ones, not one of them were off the ground. So yes, he moved them, but he most likely just tilted them up. So you wouldn't need near 30 tons worth of power to lean them over, per se.
That is correct. And if you guys remember, if you remember, like the girl had said that was giving us the tour, she did mention that he did seek help from a tractor that pulled it, and then they used the old-fashioned putting a log under, and that's a way of moving it around. So obviously he needed help from a tractor. How he moved it, it's all leverage. How he did it in the place. Now, I did think it was going to be bigger than it really was, to be honest with you.
Now, Eddie, I got a question. I got a question for you. So, if you, Eddie Guevara, you own Coral Castle and you live there and you owned it, what kind of mail order mystery novelty would you put together, Coral Castle related? An empty box.
Well, I would basically put the castle built by the unknown or something like that. I'll put a box and that's a good question, Joe. I don't know. What that question, Joe? Ask Chuck. He's the magician.
Hey,
there you go, Chuck. What would you do with Coral Castle if you were able to make a magic trick out of it?
Hey, well, you know what? First of all, I would make a 6-foot blow up Edward Leeds cannon. He was 5 foot tall, so I'd make him 6. You know what I mean? Make the 6-foot blow up thing there, But no, but you know what? It would be cool to have, what, like actual performances, like magic shows, like maybe certain times in the evening. That place
would be cool.
Yeah, that place could be actually rented out for different functions. Down there, they even gave us a brochure. We're like like the after proms for high schools, wedding receptions. Would that be cool having a wedding reception at Coral Castle? Oh my goodness!
I tell you, it would be cool, Chuck, if you were able to do a whole act of your horror magic down there and just have, do it at night, but have candles all over the place,
cool.
as the lighting. Man, would that be?
Well, Chuck,
that would be cool.
Even better, Chuck. No, but Chuck can do something even better. Miniaturize a small version of Coral Castle, and then you have the door that weighs 9 tons open and closed. So there you go.
There you go. You have it.
But in all seriousness, Joe, if you ever make it down to Miami, you have to go there. It's about 30 miles south of Miami. Just set your GPS. It's on Dixie Highway. And it's actually easy to miss. When Cheri and I we actually drove by it, and I had to stop on the highway, and we backed up on the highway. I don't usually drive like that, but I said, I think we just missed it.
You know what? I've seen some photos of when I first heard about Coral Castle and heard people talking about and explaining it, and I actually looked at photos. It was a lot smaller than I thought it would be. Was that what it was kind of like down there when you guys seen it?
Yes, I thought it was going to be a lot larger. I don't know what I was expecting, but yeah. I
think the word castle just throws it off.
What's that?
I think the word castle just throws it off.
Yeah, I think that, because I'm like picturing like, okay, some huge walls and these big, huge structures, like just towering over everything. And I'm looking at the pictures and I'm like, well, it looks kind of like a garden with just a lot of cool stuff in it.
It kind of looks like a fort. It kind of looks like a fort.
And it's wide open. I
it's
expected like more of a castle type of a building. Yeah.
You know something? Not only that, I think it fits. Like if you go to a regular high school or something with the little baseball field they have, I don't think it's much bigger than that in an area.
No,
because the girl said that I think he had bought for $12, 12 acres, and later on he sold 6 of the acres back to the state of Florida. So I guess, of course, because he was going to use it as an attraction, and he needed them to build a road right in front of the castle. But I don't know; it's not that big at all, and it actually. I know they called it represent Stonehenge, and that, like I said, that's what. It's just the same way that people inflate like the monsters from monster-sized monsters for $1, and it's a poster. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they have a great marketing team that really goes out there and kind of buffs it up and everything. Because I mean, I'm sure it's a money maker. I assume they charge admission and sell stuff there. Am I correct?
Oh my God, $18 a person.
Oh wow!
So
yeah.
And then
is
the book set
What's that, Justin?
I wonder if it's state-owned at this point.
No, it's not owned. It's privately owned.
Okay, well that's kind of good, I guess.
Yeah.
I
gift shop too, right?
Yeah, they got a nice gift shop with quite a. I was so excited. I forgot my tablet. I laid it on the counter, and I was so excited when I was leaving that some guy came out and said, "Sir, you forgot your tablet." I said,
that would have been crucial.
Yeah, I tell you, I was so excited. That was probably the best birthday I ever had in my life. That was 2 years ago. So I appreciate Cheri.
Love you, baby.
She planned this whole thing. So it was.
You know what? I think that's so nice.
I like his cooker. His cooker was cool. His what is it? Rear differential cooker, like the in the car where he would have cooked the hot dogs in that.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, it was like the Model A rear end. It would have been the pumpkin essentially, where the axles met in the middle.
That was cool.
I wouldn't have mind eating a hot dog back in 1951, probably when they were a little bit purer too.
Yeah, that would have been. We had a kid.
I don't know when you say pure.
Well, you might be right.
We had a kid. When we went there, he was in the tour group. He kept touching everything. Do you remember, Cheri?
Yeah.
And he kept touching that rear differential, and the tour guide said, "Son, that's a collector's item. Don't touch that." And then we went somewhere else. He was touching. He goes, "Please don't touch that." It was funny, man.
See, that would be me if I was done. I'd want to touch everything. I'd be like, "This is so cool. I want to touch these stones." And I'd be like a little kid down there. They'd be slapping my hand. Get out! Don't touch it! Don't touch it.
The funniest thing, it's raining like crazy, and I'm Justin's is there talking, walking with me and stuff, and I got my mom there too. But the funny thing about it is, I'm carrying a huge iPad. I'm actually filming and doing everything. And they're saying no, and I'm surprised the tour guide didn't say nothing. So that was a good thing,
Yeah.
Eddie, how did your mom like it?
She actually liked it enough that I think most of my family are going back over there. And the thing that I found really surprising is my brother and mom and everybody's been down there for years, over 30 years, and nobody even knew about it.
Isn't that something?
That's awesome.
It is. It's amazing.
And they can go and see it again. That's awesome.
It's good she enjoyed it, man, and hopefully she gets to go back and see it again.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Another good thing about it, when you said the gift shop and stuff, if you were to buy all the stuff in the gift shop, you won't spend $100. You know what I mean? Like they have a set where they sell you the 5 books, I think, and they give you an extra book for like what was it, $70? You pay for the set, and it has his books inside and all that stuff. And then a couple postcards and corals and little trinkets like that. I wound up spending almost $300, but I don't want to say why. But
you won't spend over 100 unless you're Eddie. Then you buy 30 of each.
I had to send it to some of my buddies. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm anxiously waiting by the mail every day for it.
Yeah, I noticed.
Now, did you ask him for the robot monster plans when you were down there?
I think Edward Leach took it with him to his grave. Hey, talking about the monster robot plans, want to hear it? I mean, now, Justin, to bring you up to date on this, it's back in the 60s and 70s, they always sold everything we dreamed of in comic books, from life-size monsters to you control robots and you control 7-foot ghosts, X-ray glasses, and the works. Well, as a kid, there was one particular item I never ordered, and that was on how to build a 7-foot robot that was called a 7-foot monster robot. And it was sold by the Melton Company, actually out of Miami Beach, Florida, originally from Chicago, but then they moved down to Miami. And I spent almost 40-something years tracking it down to no avail. Now, the funny thing about it is that a friend of mine, Jim Gray, great guy, tells me the other day, "Hey, Eddie, you won't believe this." I say, "Why?" He says, "I had a dream that I went to this like a flea market or some sort." He said something like you would see in the BFW. And he says, I went there and there was a guy selling plans like Star Wars, Star Trek, those plans. And I seen an envelope that said, a manila envelope, monster robot plans. So he says, I went up to the table and nonchalantly I went in and I got those and another plan and I bought them. And then I called you up. And I said, Jim, you're really a character, man. You go have a dream and you don't get them for me? Come on, man.
You know what, Eddie? That would be the place that they would pop up to. Is at a flea market, someone who doesn't know what they have has them on a table for like $1 or $2. That would be like, that's how it would work out, man. That's how it always seems when you're looking. I can't tell you like comics and toys over the years that I've searched for on eBay.
Oh yeah,
everywhere else, and then here it is at a garage sale for like 50 cents. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Way back when way back when I was a kid, my mom had a change purse, an old change purse with some really old coins. And you know what? My dad wanted a pack of cigarettes real bad. He went to the little convenience store and he spent it on a pack of cigarettes. And when my mom come home, she almost killed him.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Were they a bunch of rare coins and all that?
Yeah. Bought a pack of cigarettes. Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know what's funny about that is
gas station clerks loved that happening. I remember when I worked at Turkey Hill. That was my favorite. I would always cash out all the rare coins with regular change, and I mean you made a lot of money that way. And
Yeah.
the only thing that made me feel bad is if I thought the kids stole them or something. That just doesn't sit right with me. But
right.
I mean, hey, that's their decision. I was just smart enough. I collected coins growing up, so I'm no dummy. I mean,
it's a good prank to play, especially if you go to the store and there's a younger person working the registers. Hand them a $2 bill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they'll look at you like, what is this? Is this fake money? I've even heard stories of them calling like the manager and the police thinking that it's counterfeit money because they've never seen a $2 bill before.
That's hilarious.
You can still get them at the bank.
Yeah. I've seen I haven't seen as many of them as I used to, but like my grandma used to give it to us, all the time, birthdays and Christmas and all that. In a little card, you'd have a few $2 bills. So I've always kept them over the years. I still got a whole little pile of them. So does my dad, but you rarely see them, nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
And I've even asked some people, if I see a person working a register, hey, you guys got any $2 bills in there, that I could get? And they'll just look at me like,
what are you
talking
about?
I'm from Mars. Like, yeah, are you an alien? What
You're an alien.
Yeah. Just don't spend it on a pack of cigarettes, all right?
Yeah, really.
You guys know something talking about that? My father, he in Florida, where he lives in Fort Myers, he actually goes around. He does wells for people. Like, he makes wells in their backyards and stuff. Mm-hmm. And usually sometimes they give him gifts and stuff. This old lady who passed away gave him a coin that has George Washington's face on it. It's like a silver dollar, but it's got the dates on it, 1739 to 1797.
Oh.
Now, the funny thing about that is when I looked it up, the coin's going for almost $82,000.
Oh.
Yeah. So I told my dad, do not give that away. Hold on to it. When I go to Florida, you give it to me and I'll take it to New York.
Yes.
Yeah, don't let him spend it on
That's a nice little treasure. Yeah.
Make sure that nobody takes it.
Yeah, hopefully he's got that locked up, man. That's like almost finding gold from the Atocha, man. Some coins from there.
Awesome.
Actually, that's so good that I do have one of the original Atocha coins. I'm happy with that. But I got to tell you, though, he doesn't even know what he has. I told him, don't touch it. Put it somewhere because, he's just, and he said he had more, but some young little kid took him while they were playing in his house or something.
Oh,
and I think he lost a few. And I said, oh, my God, who knows how much money he lost?
Oh, my goodness.
You better get that coin, Eddie.
I don't want him to send it to me just in case it gets lost.
Yeah, hold it
Definitely
for him.
go pick it up,
Yeah.
You're right, and you send it up to me, Eddie, and I will hold on to it for you for as long as you want, buddy. You just send it this way.
Yeah.
Don't send it to Chuck; he'll make it disappear. Right?
Well, that's the whole thing with Chuck. I was hoping when since he's a magician there, he would be able to bring me a couple of coins better, right? Chuck?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So hey, we got to be wrapping it up here. So we got about a minute and a half or so. So we are going to definitely have to wrap it up. This has been a great conversation. I tell you what, I've learned a lot about Coral Castle, and it makes me want to go down there even more. So it was nice to live a little bit through your guys' stories and all that and knowledge about it, and just kind of thinking about why this guy did it and how he did it is just, amazing. And, maybe it's something that we're not supposed to know, but just, think about it and just enjoy, maybe that's the whole thing.
That's right.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, as Eddie touched on in the beginning of the show, our listenership has really jumped, and we're in several different countries now. And so I just want to give a huge thank you to everybody out there that's listening to us, that's continued to listen to us on whatever platform they're on. Please make sure you guys are subscribing to us. Leave us a good review because that definitely does help. With the algorithms and all that stuff that really will push us out there. And I think the last time I talked to Eddie, we're over a little bit over maybe 6,200 people that are listening weekly now. And it's growing. I tell you what, when we started, I said, man, I'd be happy if one person listens to us, to our nonsensical conversations and all that. But to be over 6,000 in many different countries now, and we're continuing to grow. And I know even our female listenership has grown as well too, and we're getting into different age brackets and everything, and that's absolutely fantastic. So I want to say a huge thank you to all the listeners out there, and to all of our guests over all these year and a half or so now. A huge thank you to everyone that keeps coming on. And guys, don't forget to check us out at houseoftheunusual.com. That's our flagship home base right there. You could find our podcast there, the forum, and everything else. And well, that's all I got for you guys. So Justin, Chuck, Cheri, Eddie, thank you guys so much for joining us and for a great conversation, and hope everyone can make it on again soon. So thank you and good night.
All right.
Thank you. My
Good night.
pleasure.
God bless everybody.
Good
God
night,
bless.
guys. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye bye.